Hello, everyone, and welcome to the channel. We're so glad you're joining us today. Are you looking for ways to find more calm and less frustration in your daily life? Do you wish you could remain undisturbed by the words or actions of others? If so, you're in the right place. As the great Buddha once said, you will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you allowed anger to control you, only to find that it leaves you feeling drained, resentful, and out of peace? What if you could break free from this cycle? Imagine a life where no one's words or actions could disturb your inner calm. A life where your emotions are not controlled by external events, but by your own conscious choice. Anger isn't something that happens to you, it's something you allow to happen. The true power lies in mastering your response, in the space between stimulus and reaction. In this video, we will dive deep into 14 transformative lessons that will teach you how to never get angry or bothered by anyone. By embracing these teachings, you will discover how to turn anger into wisdom and emotional strength. You'll unlock the ability to remain grounded, peaceful, and unshaken, no matter what life throws at you. Are you ready to take control of your emotions and live with a sense of profound inner peace? Let's explore how to master the art of non reaction and reclaim the peace that is always within you. 1. Recognize the source of your anger. Anger is something we often feel in response to something happening outside of us, whether it's a disagreement, an unfair situation, or someone's rude behavior. But what if the true source of your anger isn't really that external thing? What if the real cause lies inside of you? When you feel anger building up, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, what is it about this situation that's triggering me right now? Often, anger comes from deeper places within us, like unmet expectations, past experiences that still hurt, or our ego feeling threatened. For example, maybe someone cuts you off in traffic and you get frustrated because you were expecting smooth, peaceful driving. Or perhaps a colleague says something that feels like an attack and your pride is bruised. These reactions are often rooted in our own fears, insecurities, or even old emotional wounds that haven't healed yet. By taking the time to understand what's truly causing your anger, you can start to take away its power. When we realize that our anger isn't always about the external situation, but rather how we're interpreting or reacting to it, we take the first step in gaining control over our emotions. It's important to remember that the actions of others are not a reflection of you. They are simply a reflection of their own experiences, struggles, and personal history. Once you recognize this, it becomes easier to let go of the need to react and hold on to your peace. 2. Practice the pause between stimulus and response. One of the most powerful tools for controlling your anger is something incredibly simple, yet often overlooked: the pause. This is the brief moment that happens between when something happens, the stimulus, and how you choose to respond, your reaction. In that moment of pause, there is great power. Think about it. How often do we immediately react to something with anger, frustration, or irritation without taking a moment to think? It's a natural response, but it's also an automatic reaction. The key to mastering your anger is learning to pause before reacting. When something triggers your anger, instead of responding right away, take a deep breath and create a small gap in your mind. This is your chance to stop yourself from reacting impulsively. It could be just a few seconds, but in those few seconds, you have the power to decide how you want to respond. Are you going to let your emotions take control, or are you going to choose a calm, measured response? This pause is the difference between a knee-jerk reaction and a thoughtful decision. The ability to pause before reacting is a tool of self-mastery. It may sound simple, but it's not always easy, especially when emotions are high. It takes time, practice, and awareness. The more you practice creating this pause, the easier it will become. It's like training a muscle. At first, it feels awkward, but over time, it becomes second nature. As you strengthen this skill, you'll find that you have much more control over how you react to the world around you. By practicing the pause, you give yourself the space to respond with wisdom instead of reacting out of anger. 3. Reframe your perspective. When we feel angry, it's easy to see the situation as a personal attack or something that's wronging us. Whether it's someone cutting in line, a rude comment, or a frustrating situation, our natural instinct is often to feel hurt or upset. However, one of the most powerful ways to handle anger is by shifting how we see the situation, which is known as reframing. Instead of reacting with anger, try to reframe the event and look at it from a different angle. For example, if someone is being rude or disrespectful, instead of immediately thinking, this person is attacking me, try to understand that their behavior may stem from their own struggles. Maybe they are going through something painful that you don't know about. Sometimes people lash out not because of you, but because they are hurting inside and don't know how to express it. Reframing is also about seeing challenges as opportunities for growth. Instead of feeling frustrated, ask yourself, could this situation be a chance for me to learn something? Maybe it's teaching you patience, self control, or empathy. Perhaps the way someone treats you is a mirror showing you something about yourself. Maybe a trigger or a wound that still needs healing. By shifting your perspective like this, you can begin to view the world not through the lens of anger and frustration, but through a lens of compassion and understanding. It's about seeing the bigger picture and realizing that not everything is personal. This mindset shift allows you to respond to situations calmly and with wisdom, rather than allowing anger to take over. Reframing helps you stay grounded and centered, no matter what's happening around you. 4. Let go of expectations. A lot of the anger we feel comes from the expectations we place on others or on life itself. We have certain ideas about how things should be, how people should behave, or how events should unfold. For example, we may expect our friends to always be supportive, our colleagues to treat us fairly, or life to go according to the plans we've carefully made. But when reality doesn't match our expectations, that's when frustration and anger often set in. The truth is, life is unpredictable, and so are people. We can't control everything that happens, nor can we control how others act. When we hold on tightly to rigid expectations, we set ourselves up for disappointment. People will sometimes let us down, plans will fall apart, and life won't always follow the path we envisioned. Instead of getting angry about things not going as expected, we need to learn to let go of those rigid expectations. Letting go of expectations means embracing the idea that life is full of surprises, some good, some not so great. Instead of expecting things to go your way, be open to the possibility that things might unfold differently than you imagined. And that's okay. Sometimes the unexpected can bring new opportunities, new lessons, or even unexpected joys. By being more flexible and open minded, you free yourself from the anger that arises when things don't go according to plan. When you let go of your need for control and learn to accept life's unpredictability, you'll find that many of your frustrations and disappointments start to fade away. You'll be able to flow with life rather than fighting against it. And this freedom from rigid expectations will help you maintain your peace no matter what comes your way. 5. Cultivate empathy, not judgment. One of the quickest paths to anger is judgment. When we judge others, especially when their actions or words seem unfair or hurtful, we immediately feel that they've done something wrong, and our emotional reaction is usually one of frustration or anger. We start thinking, why did they say that? Or how could they treat me that way? However, this approach to dealing with others only fuels anger because it leads us to view people as the enemy or the problem. But what if, instead of judging them, we learn to view them with empathy? Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Instead of focusing on how someone's actions are wrong, we can try to put ourselves in their shoes. Perhaps the person who was rude or disrespectful is facing personal struggles you don't know about. Maybe they are going through something painful, and they are acting out of that pain, not because they intend to hurt you. People don't always act out of malice. Sometimes they simply don't know how to cope with their own emotions. When we judge others harshly, we create separation, and that's where anger thrives. We see them as the bad person and ourselves as the victim. But when we choose empathy over judgment, we shift from a mindset of separation to one of connection. We start to see that everyone has their own struggles, and they are just as human as we are. Instead of feeling anger toward them, we begin to feel compassion. we can understand that their actions are a reflection of their own battles, not a personal attack on us. Cultivating empathy doesn't mean allowing others to treat you poorly, but it does mean giving others the benefit of the doubt and trying to understand why they act the way they do. It's about realizing that their behavior may come from their own pain, fears, or misunderstandings. When we choose empathy, we free ourselves from the burden of anger because we stop taking things personally. Instead of reacting with judgment and frustration, we respond with compassion and understanding. This approach not only brings peace to our own hearts, but also fosters better relationships and a more peaceful mindset. In practice, when someone frustrates or hurts you, try asking yourself, what might this person be going through? Or what might be causing them to act this way? By stepping into their world for a moment, you begin to replace judgment with understanding. And in doing so, you neutralize the anger that judgment so often brings. Cultivating empathy allows you to respond to others with kindness and patience instead of irritation or resentment. The more you practice empathy, the easier it becomes to remain calm and composed, even in the face of difficult people or challenging situations. Number 6, master the art of self-control. Self-control is one of the most powerful tools we can use to manage our emotions, especially anger. It might seem challenging, but the ability to control how we respond to situations is within our reach. Anger is a natural human emotion, and it's okay to feel it sometimes. What matters most is how we choose to express it and what we do with that emotion. Mastering the art of self-control doesn't mean suppressing your anger or pretending it doesn't exist. Instead, it's about learning how to manage it so that it doesn't control you. When you feel anger rising within you, the first step is to pause and take a moment to breathe. This simple action can create a space between the emotion and your response, giving you time to reflect. In that moment, ask yourself, what is this anger really about? Is it worth reacting to right now? Sometimes we get angry because of something small or insignificant that doesn't need a big reaction. By taking that breath, you create a moment of awareness, which allows you to step back from the situation and gain perspective. This is the first step in self-control, recognizing the emotion before it takes over. The next step is understanding that you are in control of your actions, not your emotions. Emotions can feel overwhelming, especially in stressful or frustrating situations, but they don't have to dictate your behavior. You have the power to choose how to respond. For example, if someone is rude to you, you can choose to respond with kindness or walk away without engaging. You don't need to let their behavior trigger an angry outburst. In this way, you learn to control your actions, not by denying your feelings, but by choosing not to let them control you. Self-control also involves managing your thoughts. Often, we get angry because of the thoughts running through our minds. Thoughts like, this isn't fair, or why are they doing this to me? These thoughts feed the anger and make it stronger. The key to self-control is to observe these thoughts and decide whether or not you want to continue thinking them. You can choose to replace those thoughts with more balanced ones, such as, maybe they're having a tough day, or this situation isn't worth my energy. By changing your mindset, you begin to take control of your emotional state. Another important part of self-control is setting boundaries. Sometimes anger arises when we feel disrespected or violated. In those moments, self-control doesn't mean letting people walk all over us. It means calmly and assertively communicating our boundaries without letting anger get the best of us. You can stand up for yourself while staying calm and composed. For instance, if someone is speaking to you in a disrespectful tone, you can say, I don't appreciate the way you're speaking to me, without raising your voice or becoming defensive. This allows you to assert yourself while maintaining control over your emotions. Lastly, self-control requires practice and patience. Like any skill, it takes time to develop. You won't always get it right, and that's okay. The important thing is to keep practicing. When you're faced with a challenging situation, remind yourself that you have the power to control your reaction. With time, self-control becomes more natural and easier to apply, and you'll find yourself responding to anger-inducing situations with calmness and composure, rather than letting your emotions dictate your behavior. In the long run, mastering self-control not only helps you manage anger, but also brings you closer to inner peace. It allows you to navigate life's challenges with a sense of balance and stability. When you no longer let anger control you, you'll find that you feel more empowered, more peaceful, and more in charge of your own emotional well being. 7. Understand that you are in control of your peace. At the core of mastering anger is realizing one fundamental truth: you are the only one who has control over your peace. No one else, no situation, no action of another person can take away your inner peace unless you allow it. In a world full of external chaos, distractions, and difficult people, it's easy to believe that our peace depends on external circumstances. We think, if only this person didn't say that, or if this situation had gone differently, I wouldn't feel so upset. But the reality is that our peace is not dependent on external things. It's something we can choose and cultivate from within. When you fully understand that your peace is in your hands, you begin to recognize that no one has the power to make you feel angry unless you let them. This doesn't mean that the actions of others are always acceptable or that difficult situations don't happen. What it means is that despite what's going on around you, you have the ability to choose how to respond. If you choose to react with anger, frustration, or irritation, you are handing over your peace to someone or something else. However, if you choose to remain calm, composed, and centered, you are taking control of your emotional state and protecting your peace. Understanding that you are in control of your peace also means letting go of the belief that you need to be constantly reacting to everything around you. We often get caught up in trying to fix situations, change people's behavior, or make everything go according to our plan. But life is unpredictable, and people are unpredictable. If we constantly try to control every situation, we end up draining ourselves and losing our inner peace. True peace comes from accepting that we cannot control everything. We can control how we respond, but not always the circumstances themselves. The more you let go of the need to control everything and focus on how you can control your own reactions, the more peace you will experience. It's also essential to remember that peace is not something you achieve once and for all. It's something you must continually choose and nurture. Every time you face a challenge, a disagreement, or a situation that could trigger anger, you have a choice. Will you let your emotions control you, or will you choose peace instead? The more often you choose peace, the more it becomes a natural part of your life. When you make peace a priority in your life, it becomes a habit, something that feels more automatic with time. A powerful tool for maintaining your peace is the practice of mindfulness. By staying present in the moment, you can avoid getting swept away by the emotional waves that others may try to create. Mindfulness allows you to observe your emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. You can notice when anger or frustration starts to rise and choose to respond with calmness instead of getting caught up in the emotional reaction. This practice strengthens your ability to remain peaceful no matter what's happening around you. Another aspect of protecting your peace is creating healthy boundaries. When you allow others to overstep your boundaries, or when you take on too much responsibility for things outside of your control, your peace can easily be disrupted. Setting boundaries is a way of honoring your emotional well-being and making sure that you are not constantly giving away your energy to things that drain you. This could mean limiting time with negative people, saying no to requests that don't align with your priorities, or stepping away from situations that bring unnecessary stress. Ultimately, when you realize that peace is something you can choose at any moment, you reclaim your power. You stop relying on the actions of others or the circumstances around you to determine how you feel. Instead, you become the source of your own peace. Life will always have its challenges, but by understanding that you are the guardian of your own peace, you can approach each challenge with calmness and clarity. Remember, you have the power to protect your peace, and no one can take that away from you unless you let them. By accepting that your peace is yours to protect, you can face life's ups and downs with resilience, knowing that no external situation has the power to disturb your inner calm unless you allow it. The more you embrace this understanding, the more peaceful and centered you will feel, no matter what life throws your way. Number 8, embrace the power of forgiveness. One of the most profound tools for never getting angry or bothered by others is the power of forgiveness. Anger often holds us hostage, lingering within us, preventing us from moving forward. It can build up over time and affect our physical and emotional well being. But forgiveness is the key to breaking free from the chains of anger. By forgiving others, and more importantly, by forgiving ourselves, we unlock the door to lasting peace and emotional freedom. Forgiveness doesn't mean that what happened to you was okay, nor does it mean you need to forget the hurt. Forgiveness is not about excusing the actions of others, but rather about releasing yourself from the grip of anger, resentment, or bitterness. When we hold on to grudges, we allow the person who hurt us to continue having power over us, even long after the incident has passed. That power isn't worth holding on to, especially when it's robbing us of our peace and happiness. One of the most important things to understand about forgiveness is that it is for you, not for the other person. Forgiving someone doesn't change their behavior or the past, but it changes how you feel about it. It allows you to let go of the emotional weight and free yourself from the anger that keeps you stuck. When you forgive, you choose to let go of the anger and resentment that's keeping you tied to a painful memory. You choose peace over conflict, freedom over bitterness. Forgiveness also includes forgiving yourself. We often hold ourselves accountable for things we've done or failed to do, and this self-blame can lead to a cycle of guilt, frustration, and anger. By forgiving ourselves, we release the self-punishment and open up the possibility for growth, healing, and change. It's important to remember that we are all human and we all make mistakes. When we practice self-forgiveness, we stop being our harshest critics and start being our greatest supporters. This shift allows us to stop reacting angrily to our mistakes and instead approach them with compassion, understanding, and a willingness to learn. The process of forgiveness can take time, and it may not happen all at once. It's not something you can force, and it's okay if it feels difficult at first. Start by acknowledging the pain and the anger, and then make the conscious choice to release it. One powerful way to begin is by speaking out loud or writing down, "I forgive you," even if you don't feel it right away. Over time, this act of letting go helps to ease the grip that anger and resentment hold over you. Another powerful tool in the forgiveness process is mindfulness. Mindfulness helps us become more aware of our thoughts and emotions in the present moment. Often, we carry anger and resentment from past experiences, and these old wounds can continue to affect our current emotions. By practicing mindfulness, we can notice when these old feelings of anger or resentment come up, and we can choose to let them go rather than holding on to them. The more aware we are of how we're feeling and what thoughts are triggering our anger, the easier it becomes to choose forgiveness and release those negative emotions. It's also important to recognize that forgiveness is not about accepting harmful behavior or allowing others to hurt us again. It's about setting healthy boundaries and choosing to protect our emotional well-being. Forgiving someone doesn't mean that you have to allow them back into your life in the same way as before. It simply means that you're choosing to release the hold that their actions have on your peace. You are making the choice to move on without letting past pain dictate your present happiness. Forgiveness is the most powerful form of self-liberation. It frees you from the emotional burdens of anger and resentment, allowing you to reclaim your peace and emotional well-being. By embracing forgiveness, you stop allowing the actions of others to dictate your emotional state. Instead, you take back control, choosing peace, healing, and growth over anger and bitterness. This is a practice that can transform your life and help you to live in the freedom of emotional peace, no matter what challenges come your way. 9. Practice gratitude to shift your focus from anger to peace. One of the most transformative practices you can incorporate into your life to prevent anger from taking hold is gratitude. Anger often arises when we focus on what's wrong, what's missing, or what's unfair. It's easy to get caught up in negative thinking, especially when we feel hurt, disappointed, or wronged by others. But gratitude is a powerful antidote to anger because it forces us to shift our focus away from what is causing us pain and instead focus on what is good and abundant in our lives. When you practice gratitude, you begin to see the world through a different lens. Instead of focusing on the negatives, you train your mind to look for the positives. This shift in focus has a profound impact on how you perceive situations and people. When we feel angry or upset, it's often because we're concentrating on what isn't going right. But gratitude allows us to pause and appreciate the many blessings we have, both big and small. Gratitude helps you reframe your perspective, just as we discussed earlier, but it goes a step further by deepening your emotional connection to the positive aspects of your life. The key to using gratitude as a tool for managing anger is to make it a consistent practice. It's not just something you do when you're feeling down or upset. It's something you incorporate into your daily routine, regardless of how you're feeling. One of the most effective ways to practice gratitude is by keeping a gratitude journal. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They can be simple things like the warmth of the sun on your face, a kind word from a friend, or a delicious meal. The point is to focus on the positive, even when life feels difficult. When you start your day by listing the things you're grateful for, you set a positive tone for the rest of the day. Even when you face challenging situations, you'll have trained your mind to first look for the blessings in your life, rather than focusing on what's frustrating or upsetting. Gratitude helps you cultivate a mindset of abundance, reminding you that even in the midst of hardship, there is always something to be thankful for. Another powerful way to practice gratitude is by expressing it to others. When you take the time to thank someone for their kindness, support, or even just their presence, you deepen your emotional connections with them and shift your focus away from any negativity. Expressing gratitude helps to build stronger, more positive relationships, which in turn contributes to your emotional well being. By acknowledging the good in others, you begin to see them in a more compassionate and understanding light, which can prevent anger and frustration from arising in the first place. Gratitude also helps you let go of grudges and negative emotions. When you're focused on what you're grateful for, there's no room for bitterness or resentment. For example, if someone has wronged you and you're holding on to anger, practicing gratitude can help you shift your mindset. Instead of ruminating on what was done to you, you can begin to focus on the things in your life that bring you joy and fulfillment. This doesn't mean you ignore or excuse the wrongs done to you, but it means that you no longer allow those wrongs to dominate your emotional state. When you consciously choose to focus on gratitude, you free yourself from the grip of anger and open up space for peace and healing. Practicing gratitude is also a way to rewire your brain. Studies have shown that when you focus on the positive aspects of your life, your brain releases feel-good chemicals like dopamine and serotonin. These chemicals boost your mood and promote a sense of well-being. The more you practice gratitude, the more you train your brain to look for the positive in every situation. Over time, this makes it easier to stay calm and composed, even in the face of anger-inducing situations. One of the most beautiful aspects of gratitude is that it's a practice that's accessible to everyone. You don't need any special tools or resources to be grateful. You can start right now, in this very moment. No matter where you are or what you're going through, you can find something to be grateful for. The more you make gratitude a part of your daily life, the more your ability to stay calm and peaceful in the face of challenges will grow. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's wrong to what's right, from what you lack to what you have. It transforms your mindset, your emotional state, and your relationships. And it has the power to prevent anger from taking hold in even the most difficult of situations. In conclusion, gratitude is one of the most effective tools for managing anger and creating lasting peace in your life. By consistently practicing gratitude, you shift your focus from frustration to appreciation, from negativity to positivity. As you make gratitude a daily habit, you'll find that your emotional responses to challenges become more balanced and calm. Gratitude helps you cultivate inner peace, and with that peace comes the ability to stay unshaken no matter what life throws your way. 10. Let go of the need to be right. One of the biggest sources of anger in our lives comes from the desire to always be right. We all have moments when we feel we have the correct answer, the better approach, or the perfect solution to a situation. When someone challenges our point of view or disagrees with us, it's easy to feel upset, defensive, or frustrated. The need to be right can spark anger and resentment, particularly when we feel that our opinions or beliefs are being attacked. But what if you could let go of the constant need to be right and choose peace instead? This lesson is about learning to free yourself from the grip of being right all the time and embracing the freedom of letting go. The first step in letting go of the need to be right is realizing that being right doesn't necessarily bring peace or happiness. In fact, it often does the opposite. When we are so focused on proving ourselves right, we tend to create tension, division, and conflict. This is especially true in our relationships with others. When we insist on being right, we can alienate the people around us, pushing them away and making it harder to build meaningful, respectful connections. The desire to always be right can create a battleground where the goal isn't to understand one another, but to win. Now consider this. What would happen if, instead of insisting on being right, you chose to listen and understand? What if you focused more on connecting with others and less on winning a debate? When you let go of the need to always be right, you open the door to greater communication, empathy, and growth. You allow yourself to listen to other perspectives, to learn from them, and to grow. There is a great deal of strength and wisdom in admitting that you don't have all the answers and that there's always room to learn and evolve. Letting go of the need to be right doesn't mean you stop standing up for your beliefs or opinions. It simply means that you recognize that your viewpoint is not the only valid one. By acknowledging that other people may have valid perspectives, even if they differ from yours, you cultivate humility and openness. You learn to approach situations with curiosity rather than defensiveness. Instead of getting angry when someone disagrees with you, you can view it as an opportunity to understand them better, to see the world through their eyes, and to broaden your own understanding of the situation. Another key aspect of letting go of the need to be right is accepting that not everything is a personal battle. Life is not a series of competitions where we must prove our worth by being right. Often, disagreements or differing opinions are just that, differences of opinion. They don't define your value, and they certainly don't need to disrupt your peace. When you let go of the need to always be right, you stop viewing every conversation or disagreement as a challenge. You stop attaching your sense of self-worth to the need for validation or approval from others. You no longer feel the need to win every argument, and instead, you embrace the beauty of dialogue, collaboration, and mutual respect. This shift in perspective allows you to stay calm and composed, even in situations where others may be passionate or heated in their views. You can remain rooted in your peace because you no longer need to engage in the emotional tug of war that comes with defending your position at all costs. You'll find that by choosing peace over being right, you create a more harmonious environment for yourself and those around you. Instead of causing conflict, you're cultivating understanding, patience, and empathy. Letting go of the need to be right also frees you from unnecessary stress. Constantly striving to prove you're right can be exhausting, especially when it feels like the world is always testing your beliefs or opinions. But when you let go of this pressure, you liberate yourself. You no longer have to carry the weight of constantly defending your point of view, nor do you have to feel anxiety when faced with differing opinions. Instead, you approach each situation with an open heart and mind, knowing that your value does not depend on being right, but on being present, compassionate, and understanding. There's also a great deal of peace that comes with accepting the limitations of your own knowledge. We all have blind spots and areas where we can grow, and acknowledging that we don't know everything allows us to be more adaptable, open, and receptive to new ideas. It allows us to be more in tune with the fluidity of life and the understanding that things are constantly changing. By letting go of the need to be right, you align yourself with the ever-evolving nature of life, where growth, change, and learning are constants. In conclusion, letting go of the need to be right is one of the most liberating practices you can adopt. It allows you to free yourself from the grip of pride, defensiveness, and anger. When you stop feeling the need to constantly prove yourself right, you open yourself up to a life of deeper understanding, connection, and peace. You'll find that relationships become more fulfilling, communication flows more easily, and you experience less frustration and stress. The true power of peace lies not in winning every argument, but in choosing to be calm, understanding, and present, no matter what life brings your way. 11. Cultivate mindfulness to stay present and avoid anger. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, aware of your thoughts, emotions, and surroundings without judgment. In our fast paced, often stressful lives, it's easy to get caught up in past regrets or future worries, both of which can fuel anger. When we are not fully present, our emotions can easily take control, and we can react impulsively without thinking through our actions. This is especially true when we feel frustrated or upset. By cultivating mindfulness, you can learn to stay grounded in the present moment, which helps you avoid being swept away by anger and negative emotions. The foundation of mindfulness is awareness. By becoming more aware of your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations, you begin to notice when anger is arising within you. Anger often starts as a subtle feeling, a slight tension or irritation that, if ignored, can grow into something more intense. When you're mindful, you can recognize this feeling early on and address it before it escalates. For example, if someone says something that triggers you, instead of immediately reacting with anger, mindfulness helps you notice the first signs of irritation. By becoming aware of this feeling, you can make a conscious choice about how to respond rather than reacting out of habit or emotion. In conclusion, letting go of the need to be right is one of the most liberating practices you can adopt. It allows you to free yourself from the grip of pride, defensiveness, and anger. When you stop feeling the need to constantly prove yourself right, you open yourself up to a life of deeper understanding, connection, and peace. You'll find that relationships become more fulfilling, communication flows more easily, and you experience less frustration and stress. The true power of peace lies not in winning every argument, but in choosing to be calm, understanding, and present, no matter what life brings your way. 11. Cultivate mindfulness to stay present and avoid anger. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, aware of your thoughts, emotions, and surroundings without judgment. In our fast paced, often stressful lives, it's easy to get caught up in past regrets or future worries, both of which can fuel anger. When we are not fully present, our emotions can easily take control, and we can react impulsively without thinking through our actions. This is especially true when we feel frustrated or upset. By cultivating mindfulness, you can learn to stay grounded in the present moment, which helps you avoid being swept away by anger and negative emotions. The foundation of mindfulness is awareness. By becoming more aware of your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations, you begin to notice when anger is arising within you. Anger often starts as a subtle feeling, a slight tension or irritation that, if ignored, can grow into something more intense. When you're mindful, you can recognize this feeling early on and address it before it escalates. For example, if someone says something that triggers you, instead of immediately reacting with anger, mindfulness helps you notice the first signs of irritation. By becoming aware of this feeling, you can make a conscious choice about how to respond rather than reacting out of habit or emotion. One of the most effective mindfulness techniques for managing anger is deep breathing. When you feel anger starting to rise, take a few slow, deep breaths. As you breathe in, focus on the sensation of air filling your lungs. As you breathe out, imagine releasing any tension or frustration. Deep breathing activates the body's relaxation response, which counteracts the fight or flight response that anger triggers. By focusing on your breath, you bring yourself back to the present moment and break the cycle of escalating anger. This pause, created by deep breathing, gives you the space to choose a thoughtful response instead of a knee-jerk reaction. Mindfulness also encourages non-judgmental awareness. Often, we get angry because we judge a situation, person, or ourselves negatively. We might think, this is unfair, or they shouldn't have done that. These judgments create tension and fuel our anger. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts and emotions without attaching labels like good or bad. Instead of judging the situation or your emotions, you simply acknowledge them. For example, instead of thinking, I'm so angry because they disrespected me, mindfulness would encourage you to think, I'm noticing that I'm feeling angry right now, and that's okay. This shift in perspective helps to dissolve the power that anger has over you. When you can observe your feelings without judgment, you free yourself from the grip of negative emotions. In addition to being aware of your thoughts and emotions, mindfulness also encourages you to be present in your body. When we're angry, our bodies often react with physical tension, such as clenched fists, tight shoulders, or a racing heart. By tuning into your body, you can become more aware of these physical signs of anger before they escalate. This awareness helps you recognize when you need to take a step back or engage in a calming practice, such as taking a walk or practicing progressive muscle relaxation. Learning to listen to your body in this way gives you more control over your reactions and helps you manage anger in healthier ways. Another important aspect of mindfulness is cultivating compassion, both for yourself and others. When we're angry, we often focus on how wrong someone else is, and we forget that everyone, including ourselves, has struggles and challenges. Mindfulness helps us recognize that we are all human and that people's actions are often a reflection of their own pain or suffering. By practicing compassion, you can let go of the need to be right or to blame others. Instead of reacting with anger, you can respond with understanding and empathy. When we approach difficult situations with compassion, we create a space for healing and connection rather than conflict and separation. Mindfulness also teaches us to let go of the need to control everything. So much of our anger arises when we try to control situations, people, or outcomes. When things don't go the way we want, we become frustrated and angry. Mindfulness reminds us that there is beauty in accepting things as they are, without the need to control or manipulate them. When we let go of the need for things to be a certain way, we reduce our frustration and allow ourselves to experience life as it is, without resistance. This acceptance brings peace and calm, even in the midst of challenging situations. Practicing mindfulness regularly can have a profound impact on your ability to manage anger. As you become more aware of your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations, you learn to respond with intention and self awareness rather than reacting impulsively. Over time, mindfulness helps you develop a deeper sense of inner peace and emotional resilience, which allows you to navigate life's challenges with calmness and grace. In conclusion, mindfulness is a powerful tool for staying present and managing anger. By cultivating mindfulness, you become more aware of your emotions, thoughts, and physical reactions, which gives you the ability to respond to situations with calmness and clarity. Through practices such as deep breathing, non judgmental awareness, and compassion, you can break the cycle of anger and create space for peace and understanding. With regular mindfulness practice, you'll find that anger has less power over you, and you can approach life's challenges with a peaceful and centered mindset. 12. Build emotional resilience to prevent anger from taking over. Emotional resilience is the ability to adapt to stressful situations, setbacks, and challenges without being overwhelmed by negative emotions like anger, frustration, or helplessness. It's about bouncing back from adversity and maintaining emotional balance in the face of life's difficulties. Anger can feel like an uncontrollable force, but when you build emotional resilience, you gain the tools to face life's challenges without letting anger take over. Building emotional resilience is not about avoiding difficult emotions, but rather learning how to handle them with strength and composure. Resilience is like a muscle. It's something you can strengthen over time with practice and intentional effort. The more resilient you become, the better you'll be at managing your emotions, including anger. When you're emotionally resilient, you can handle difficult situations calmly and rationally without being swept away by intense emotions. One of the key aspects of building emotional resilience is developing a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that you can learn, grow, and improve through effort and experience. When you have a growth mindset, you view challenges as opportunities for growth rather than as threats or obstacles. This mindset helps you see setbacks and difficulties as part of the learning process rather than as personal failures. When you apply this mindset to your emotional life, you stop viewing anger as something that controls you. Instead, you start to see it as an opportunity to learn more about yourself and to develop better ways of responding to stress and frustration. A growth mindset also allows you to shift your focus from blaming others or external circumstances for your anger to taking responsibility for your own reactions. When things don't go the way you want, instead of getting angry or frustrated, you can ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Or how can I approach this situation differently next time? By focusing on what you can control, your reactions and mindset, you empower yourself to respond in a way that aligns with your values and goals, rather than reacting impulsively out of anger. Another important aspect of emotional resilience is self awareness. When you are self aware, you can recognize the early signs of anger before it escalates. Self awareness allows you to understand what triggers your anger and why it affects you the way it does. Are there certain situations or people that set you off more than others? Are there patterns in your behavior that contribute to your anger? By becoming aware of these triggers, you can begin to address them proactively before they have a chance to take hold of you. This may involve making small adjustments to your environment, your routines, or your interactions with others to reduce the likelihood of anger provoking situations. Self awareness also helps you recognize when your anger is disproportionate to the situation at hand. Sometimes we get angry because of underlying emotions, such as fear, insecurity, or disappointment. By being in tune with your emotions, you can identify when your anger is masking deeper feelings and address those feelings directly. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic and you react with intense anger, it might not just be about the driver's behavior. It could be about feeling out of control or unimportant in that moment. By recognizing these deeper emotions, you can address the root cause of your anger rather than just the surface level irritation. Building emotional resilience also involves developing coping strategies that help you manage stress and prevent anger from building up. Healthy coping strategies might include physical activities like exercise, which help release built up tension and improve your mood, mindfulness practices, which help you stay present and calm, or creative outlets like art or journaling, which allow you to express your emotions in a healthy way. Having a toolbox of coping strategies gives you options when you're feeling angry or overwhelmed, so you can choose the one that works best for you in the moment. Support networks also play a critical role in emotional resilience. Having a strong support system, whether it's family, friends, or a therapist, gives you a safe space to process your emotions and seek advice when you need it. When you feel understood and supported by others, you're less likely to bottle up your emotions or let anger fester. It's important to reach out for support when you're feeling overwhelmed, rather than isolating yourself. Sharing your feelings with someone who listens can help you process difficult emotions and gain a fresh perspective on the situation, which can reduce the likelihood of reacting angrily. Another key factor in emotional resilience is practicing self compassion. We can be our harshest critics, and this often leads to frustration, anger, and feelings of inadequacy. When we make mistakes or face challenges, we tend to beat ourselves up, which only adds to our emotional burden. Self compassion involves treating yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and patience that you would offer to a friend. Instead of being angry at yourself for not being perfect, you acknowledge that it's okay to struggle, that mistakes are part of life, and that you're doing the best you can. Self compassion helps reduce the internal anger we sometimes feel toward ourselves, and it allows us to move forward with greater peace and resilience. In conclusion, building emotional resilience is an essential part of learning how to manage anger and maintain your peace. By developing a growth mindset, practicing self awareness, adopting healthy coping strategies, and leaning on your support network, you can build the emotional strength to handle whatever life throws your way. Emotional resilience allows you to bounce back from difficult situations without being overwhelmed by anger, frustration, or stress. The more resilient you become, the more in control you'll feel of your emotions, and the less power anger will have over your life. With resilience, you can face challenges with calmness, clarity, and the confidence that you can handle whatever comes your way. 13. Accept what you cannot change to release anger. One of the most important steps in learning how to manage anger is accepting that there are things in life that are simply beyond your control. We often get angry when things don't go the way we expect them to, or when we feel helpless in the face of a difficult situation. Whether it's someone else's behavior, a situation at work, or events that occur in life, there are moments when we simply cannot change what is happening around us. However, by accepting that these things are beyond our control, we can release the anger that builds up when we resist reality and make room for peace. The first step in accepting what you cannot change is recognizing the difference between what you can control and what you cannot. For example, you cannot control how other people behave, but you can control how you respond to their behavior. You cannot change the past, but you can control how you move forward. Life is full of unpredictable events, and no matter how hard we try, there are situations that we cannot alter. Understanding this truth helps you release the frustration and anger that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. When we resist what is happening in the moment, whether it's a frustrating situation or someone's behavior, we add fuel to the fire of anger. We might think, this isn't fair, or why is this happening to me? And those thoughts only deepen our frustration. Instead of fighting against the situation, acceptance involves acknowledging that things are the way they are right now, even if we don't like it. By accepting the current reality, you free yourself from the emotional strain of resistance. This acceptance doesn't mean you agree with what's happening, but it means that you stop fighting against it internally. One powerful way to practice this acceptance is through the use of the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This simple but profound prayer helps you focus on the things that you can change while letting go of the things that are beyond your influence. When you focus your energy on what you can control, such as your thoughts, actions, and reactions, you shift your mindset from frustration to empowerment. A big part of acceptance is also about letting go of unrealistic expectations. We often get angry when things don't go according to plan, especially when we have a specific outcome in mind. We may expect people to behave a certain way or for life to unfold in a particular direction, and when it doesn't, we feel upset. But by letting go of rigid expectations and embracing the idea that life doesn't always go as planned, you free yourself from the disappointment that leads to anger. Life's unpredictability is part of what makes it interesting, and by accepting that things may not always go as expected, you can approach life with more flexibility and less frustration. It's also important to accept that some people may never change, and that's okay. We often become angry when we try to change someone else's behavior, particularly if they continue to act in ways we don't approve of. However, people are on their own journeys, and they will change only when they are ready. Trying to force someone to change or expecting them to act differently can lead to anger, resentment, and frustration. Acceptance means letting go of the need to control others and recognizing that everyone is responsible for their own actions. When you stop trying to change others and accept them as they are, you will feel less angry and more at peace. Another key part of acceptance is embracing the present moment. When we dwell on the past or worry about the future, we often miss out on the richness of the present. Anger can arise when we ruminate on past mistakes or project fears about the future. By focusing on the present moment, you can shift your energy away from regret or worry and into the here and now. Mindfulness practices, such as deep breathing or meditation, can help you stay grounded in the present, allowing you to accept things as they are without getting caught up in anger or frustration. Finally, acceptance also involves being kind and compassionate with yourself. Often, we hold on to anger because we feel that life is unfair or that we don't deserve to be treated in a certain way. When we feel victimized or hurt, it's easy to fall into self-pity and anger. However, by accepting your feelings and treating yourself with compassion, you can ease the anger that arises from perceived unfairness. It's important to recognize that everyone, including you, faces challenges and difficult situations. Being gentle with yourself helps you release anger and embrace a mindset of self-compassion, which fosters inner peace. In conclusion, accepting what you cannot change is a powerful tool for managing anger. When you stop resisting reality and acknowledge that some things are beyond your control, you free yourself from the frustration that fuels anger. Acceptance allows you to shift your focus from external circumstances to internal peace, enabling you to respond to life with greater patience, understanding, and wisdom. By practicing acceptance, you develop the ability to stay calm, composed, and peaceful regardless of what's happening around you. This practice doesn't mean giving up or resigning yourself to a powerless existence. It means choosing to let go of unnecessary emotional suffering and finding peace within, no matter what life presents. 14. Practice self reflection to gain control over your emotions. Self reflection is one of the most powerful tools for understanding and managing your emotions, including anger. It's the process of looking inward, examining your thoughts, feelings, and actions, and understanding what motivates your behavior. By regularly practicing self reflection, you gain greater insight into the underlying causes of your anger, which empowers you to respond with more awareness rather than reacting impulsively. This practice allows you to take responsibility for your emotions and choose how you want to respond to different situations. The first step in self reflection is taking the time to pause and examine how you're feeling. Often, we get so caught up in our daily lives that we don't take the time to check in with ourselves. When anger arises, it can feel like a sudden wave, and we may react without fully understanding what's causing it. By practicing self reflection, you create a moment of pause where you can ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What triggered this emotion? This pause helps you move from a reactive state to a more thoughtful, intentional response. One of the most effective ways to practice self reflection is through journaling. When you write down your thoughts and feelings, you can gain clarity about what is going on inside your mind. For example, after an angry encounter, take a few minutes to write about the situation. What happened? How did you feel? What thoughts crossed your mind? And most importantly, why do you think you reacted the way you did? Journaling gives you the space to process your emotions without judgment. It allows you to see patterns in your thinking, recognize triggers, and identify areas for growth. Another important aspect of self reflection is examining the underlying beliefs or assumptions that fuel your anger. Often, we get angry because of our own beliefs or expectations about how things should be. For example, you might feel anger when someone is rude to you because you have an expectation that people should treat you with respect. While this belief is valid, it can also set you up for frustration and anger when others don't meet that expectation. Self reflection allows you to question these assumptions and decide if they are helpful or if they need to be adjusted. By recognizing the beliefs that fuel your anger, you can challenge them and shift your mindset, which reduces the emotional charge associated with certain situations. Self reflection also involves taking responsibility for your own emotional reactions. It's easy to blame others for how we feel. They made me angry. But true emotional mastery comes from recognizing that we are in control of how we respond. While we cannot control other people's actions, we can control how we interpret those actions and how we choose to react. By reflecting on your emotional responses, you can begin to take ownership of your feelings and empower yourself to respond in a way that aligns with your values. When you take responsibility for your anger, you stop giving away your power to external circumstances and start reclaiming control over your emotional state. In addition, self reflection helps you develop empathy and understanding for others. Often, we get angry because we assume that others have bad intentions or that their actions are meant to hurt us. However, when we reflect on the situation and try to understand the other person's perspective, we often realize that their actions were not about us at all. Maybe they were having a bad day, or maybe they didn't even realize how their words affected us. Self reflection allows you to step outside of your own emotional response and consider the situation from a broader, more compassionate perspective. This shift in mindset helps you let go of anger and approach others with more understanding and patience. Self reflection can also be a tool for preventing anger from escalating in the future. By regularly reflecting on your emotions and actions, you can identify patterns and triggers that cause anger. For example, you might notice that certain types of situations, such as feeling disrespected or ignored, tend to spark anger in you. Once you identify these triggers, you can take steps to manage your reactions before they lead to full-blown anger. This might involve setting clearer boundaries, communicating more effectively, or developing healthier coping strategies for when you feel upset. The more you reflect on your experiences, the better equipped you become to handle similar situations in the future. An essential part of self-reflection is self-compassion. It's important to approach your reflections with kindness rather than judgment. When you reflect on a situation where you reacted with anger, avoid being hard on yourself or feeling guilty. Instead, treat yourself with the same understanding and compassion you would offer a friend. Recognize that you're human, and like everyone else, you make mistakes. Self-reflection is not about criticizing yourself for feeling angry, but about learning from the experience and finding ways to grow. By practicing self-compassion, you free yourself from shame or guilt, which can make it easier to move forward with a healthier emotional mindset. In conclusion, self-reflection is a powerful practice that allows you to understand your emotions and take control over your reactions. By pausing to examine your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, you gain deeper insight into the root causes of your anger. Self-reflection helps you identify patterns and triggers, challenge unhelpful beliefs, and take responsibility for your emotional responses. It also promotes empathy, self-compassion, and personal growth, all of which reduce the power of anger in your life. The more you engage in self-reflection, the more you develop emotional intelligence and resilience, which allows you to navigate difficult situations with grace and calmness. Through self-reflection, you transform anger from a reactive emotion into a tool for personal growth, understanding, and peace. Throughout this journey, we've explored essential lessons on how to take control of your anger, transform your emotional responses, and reclaim your peace. From recognizing the sources of anger within ourselves to practicing the pause between stimulus and response and embracing mindfulness, each lesson offers a vital tool for emotional mastery. We've learned that by letting go of expectations, reframing our perspective, cultivating empathy, building emotional resilience, accepting what we cannot change, embracing forgiveness, practicing self-reflection, and living with gratitude, we empower ourselves to navigate life with grace, compassion, and wisdom. Anger may still arise from time to time, but with these tools in hand, you now have the ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. In doing so, you free yourself from the grip of anger and create a life that is anchored in peace, understanding, and emotional freedom. As you continue on your journey, remember that emotional mastery is a lifelong practice. Be patient with yourself and embrace every opportunity to grow, learn, and evolve. The power to remain calm, unshaken, and at peace is always within you. It begins with a single choice: to embrace peace over anger, understanding over judgment, and compassion over resentment. By making these choices every day, you'll find that the world around you becomes a reflection of the peace you cultivate within. Thank you for taking this journey with us. If you found these lessons valuable and wish to continue exploring ways to cultivate inner peace and resilience, please consider subscribing to our channel. Don't forget to like this video if it resonated with you and share it with anyone who might benefit from these teachings. We look forward to seeing you in the next video. May your path be filled with tranquility, resilience, and boundless peace.